Welcome, everybody. I will tell you about my trip to the White House on the bonus show today. So much going on, including continued problems for Republican candidates. Donald Trump-endorsed candidate for North Carolina Governor Mark Robinson has been caught referring to himself as a black Nazi, admitting to peeping in locker room showers, and saying maybe slavery should come back and he'd buy a few slaves. This is yet another major problem for MAGA Trumpism. I'm a black Nazi. North Carolina Republican nominee for governor made dozens of disturbing comments on Porn Forum. Not that I care what this guy's into, but he also seems to have a fetish for transgender pornography, which, of course, have at it, Haas, but a direct conflict with the supposed immorality of trans that both Robinson and Trump have espoused. You can't write it any more outrageously than real life. Screenshots are widespread on CNN of him talking about, he used the handle, I guess, mini soldier, and they're all over the place. He was on Nude Africa talking about finding a spot where he could peep into locker room showers. There are endless conflicts between his stated views online under these handles versus as a public person. For example, publicly, he said that people should only use bathrooms that correspond with the gender assigned at birth. He said trans women should be arrested for using women's restrooms. There are a number of these different claims, and yet privately, writes the report, he graphically described his own sexual arousal as an adult from the memory of secretly peeping on women in public gym showers as a 14-year-old. He said he found a spot. He had a memory. He has a memory he still fantasizes about. Quote, I came to a spot that was a dead end, but had two big vent covers over it. It just so happened it overlooked the showers. I sat there for about an hour and watched as several girls came in and showered. A biological male in the girls' restroom. Doesn't sound so good. There are a bunch of graphic sexual depictions that CNN has opted not to publish. But he talked about going back multiple times, etc. He also discussed an affinity for transgender pornography. I like watching tranny on girl porn. He says he's a perv. And he now is claiming, oh, it's not me. It really wasn't me. This is a whole thing that they've somehow faked.
Media is at it again. My opponent is at it again. You all have seen the half-truths and outright lies of Josh Stein on these ads over and over again. And now a story leaked by him to CNN is appearing now. Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson.
Yes. However, speaking on the condition of anonymity, a campaign staffer said that is indeed his email address and his username.
You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race and before. Folks, this race right now, our opponents are desperate to shift the focus here from the substantive issues and focus on what you are concerned with to salacious tabloid trash. We cannot allow that to happen. And folks, we've seen this type of stuff in the past as well. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching.
Now he's Clarence Thomas.
Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too, by a man who refuses to stand on stage and debate me about the real issues that face you.
Now, of course, this is becoming a problem for Donald Trump, and there are already reports of people around Trump quietly saying he needs to step down and end his candidacy because it's going to hurt Donald Trump in North Carolina. Now, here is Trump, as he often likes to do, calling him hot, saying he's hot.
Thanks as well to, I think, one of the hottest politicians in the United States of America, and has become a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Mark Robinson, of course, super, super hot. And he happens to be, Mark Robinson, very anti-trans, despite enjoying, reportedly, trans pornography.
I don't care how hard you try. The transgender movement in this country, if there's a movement in this country that is demonic and that is full of the spirit of Antichrist, it is the transgender movement.
It is that is the worst movement. It's just the Antichrist movement, which I guess Robinson himself must now in some way be a part of or an enabler of. And then here is Donald Trump saying that Mark Robinson is better than Martin Luther King.
And he's been an unbelievable Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson. I heard him, and by the way, his wife is much, much more lovely than he is. I can tell you that, and she's my friend. Thank you, darling, for being here. But, you know, I heard him coming in on the plane. I was listening, and I said to the people on the plane, watch this. This is Martin Luther King on steroids, okay? Now, I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2.
Oh.
And he looked at me, and I wasn't sure, was he angry because that's a terrible thing to say, or was he complimented? I have never figured it out.
Yeah. Now, very much, very much untrue what Trump is saying there. Robinson is, as far as his public-facing life, a disgusting anti-LGBTQ bigot. And he also, like many of these MAGA right-wingers, seems to be a complete and total hypocrite. So, with North Carolina so in focus, and with, remember, we've looked at the scenarios. If Trump loses North Carolina, not only is this election almost certainly over for him, it might be over by 8 p.m. on November 5th if Pennsylvania and Georgia don't go Trump's way. Like, it could be an East Coast decides this thing if North Carolina doesn't go for Donald Trump. So we're going to be watching North Carolina closely. Trump advisors in a panic, reportedly privately saying, Robinson's just got to get out. You're going to torpedo Trump. You could cost Trump the presidency. So things going very, very poorly for Donald Trump. Let me catch you up on an interesting occurrence over on the Kamala Harris campaign side. With elections right around the corner and MAGA willing to do anything to secure his win, I can't recommend enough using Ground News to stay up to date on debates and other issues that right-wing outlets will try to skew or ignore. Our longtime sponsor, Ground News, adds clarity to every news story by putting together a multitude of sources in one place, and you can compare coverage and decide for yourself. Like this story, the DNC is suing the Georgia Election Board over Republican-supported rules that allow local election boards to question and withhold election certification, potentially causing chaos after Election Day. The summary of this story on Ground News is based on every article Ground News found reporting on it, and with a simple scroll, you can see how different outlets across the political spectrum are framing the story. Voter suppression is real, and in this case, the perpetrators are elected officials who can be voted out, but only if the public understands the story from every angle, and that's where Ground News comes in. Go to ground.news/Pacman or scan my QR code for 40% off the Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access to all their features. The link is in the description.